Um, Actually, it's a few more than 69. I was with Dr. King and a couple of sit-ins at restaurants when 50 years ago when I was a student at Ole Miss. My first year there was the year it was integrated, September of '62. And I understood that civil disobedience and contentiousness draws media's attention like other things don't. And the nation needed to see dogs chasing little children trying to go to school and people trying to register to vote. But I'm here as a peacemaker. People ask me what I do with the 15,000 hours over 28 years, 10 hours a week, encouraging people to go to abortion clinics and talk to people, not to mention being the coordinator of sit-ins and Face the Truth movements and any type of public acknowledgement and education on abortion. Personally, I was abandoned at birth in a shoebox in the middle of the night, in the middle of the winter, on the steps of a Baptist church. Hence, I became Baptist and became a McMillan when my parents adopted me. I was conceived about 6 months after Pearl Harbor and found full term at a church in Louisiana. And 43, my parents had gone to school there. War began, they stayed there and went back to Mississippi afterwards. Just a few months ago, Beverly and I spent a couple of weeks with the equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Israel. And my favorite thing was going to the Sea of Galilee and going to the church of the Sermon on the Mount and sitting in the gazebo during Mass. By the way, I've only been Catholic 15 years. And hearing the Beatitudes, blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God, whom we all are. And I simply maintain that any nation where the mothers are at war with their children, what hope do we have for other groups getting along, the rich and the poor, Muslims and the Christians? When we've got mothers at war with their children, you go to the zoo and you'll see nature where a mother bear will protect her little bear if you go up to the polar bear or something like that. And it should be that way in nature. But we do have free will, and we do have a culture and moral and financial chaos when you look at the chaos we've had, particularly in the illicit family and the breakdown of the culture. I was a single father raising a little girl 31 years ago, attending First Baptist with my little girl, Amanda, and I worked for a huge insurance company, and I was in charge of the home office's public relations, employee relations, media relations, publications, photography, and things like that. And once a month we would have someone come speak to us about some public issue. And I saw Beverly debate an abortion clinic owner on TV one day, and I said that would make a wonderful program. The person with her was our head actuary's wife, Catholic, and I went to see him, and he helped me line up to have Beverly come speak. And a few months, well, within a few months, I got with her, and Mississippi was just starting to build a pro-life movement. That was in the early 80s. And I used my talents in public relations and advertising to help that fledgling beginning organization. And Beverly was a marvelous speaker. She'd been an abortion, she was a woman, she had children, she was delivering children at the Baptist Hospital, and she really had the bases covered. So we organized, and we pretty much put together a little stew with 4 legs, with an umbrella on it. One leg was education. My people perish from the lack of the truth. She's a good educator, so are teachers and biologists and people like that. A second leg would be the people who work in legislation and politics, and we are a nation of laws, and we need those laws to conform with nature, and nature's God, and certainly be just and protect the innocent and do justice and protect those people and punish the guilty in a humane way. And then the third leg was the alternatives movement. And saying a word about the crisis pregnancy centers around the country, one promising note about that, all of them I know of are funded by private charities. They're not government doing that. And it kind of disappoints me as a Catholic who loves the church. And I came into it after Beverly decided to go back to her church. We were going to a Protestant church, and I had known people in mid-Mississippi who the husband would go to one denomination, wife to another. They didn't have the commonality of the faith, and they didn't have the commonality of the social life. I look back in the 50s in Mississippi, all the Protestant churches were pretty much alike. They were all racist. Me and my family were different. My dad was the editor of the newspaper. My grandfather was Colonel Sanders, the original. He was an Army colonel, owned a newspaper. Was a state senator, was a mayor, and military background. And those are things that I was interested in. Military, media, politics, and church work. And but when I look at the fact of the two commonalities between Catholic Charities and Planned Parenthood, it disturbs me. They both are funded by the government. I mean, Catholic Charities get $6 billion a year helping the poor, but it's not Catholic necessarily and not charitable. $4 billion of the $6 billion comes from the government as reimbursements. That should be us. And it's not charity when you're taking government money that they took from somebody else and distributed to somebody else. And they also, Planned Parenthood takes money, and neither one of them can pray or evangelize, or Planned Parenthood doesn't want to, but Catholic Charities is told not to because you're using government money, and we got to separate the two. Okay, and then the last leg was direct activism, and that was an area that, with my personality as a military officer, as a obvious baseball player, having been involved in the civil rights movement, seen the Vietnam protests, and I knew that media covered controversy. Two people debating abortion at a church table or something is not going to draw the attention of 150 people singing Amazing Grace and Jesus Loves the Little Children surrounding an abortion clinic. I kind of felt like one of the things that we're failing to do is act like they're killing people. And how do you change that? Well, when you look at abortion or hunger or hospice care, the solutions are really simple. It's just hard to do it. And the solutions are solidarity and fidelity with the victim. We need to be like Mother Teresa, be where they are, help them, give till it hurts. We need to be there. We need to tell the government, this is wrong, we're not going to protest, we're going to take whatever punishment you give us, like Gandhi or Dr. King or Christ said, but we're not going to obey a government that's told us we can't do something. Another point would be, we're not islands. Every man is an island. I mean, no man is an island, as John Donne so greatly said. Years ago, the church bells chimed, not only for church, but when there was something happened in the city, an accident, a fire, a death, or something like that. And John Donne said, no man is an island entire to himself. Every man is a piece of the continent, are part of the main. If they clod to be washed away by the sea, Europe is less. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never sin to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So I really believe that one of the things we need to do is understand that being a Christian is bearing a cross, and it's our responsibility to take care of people. We were at the Holy Land, like I was telling you. One place we went to one day was from Jerusalem to Jericho. We saw the mountain of temptation. We saw Jericho underneath it destroyed. The first day of the 11th month, after 40 years in the wilderness for disobedience, for being scared because we were grasshoppers, and making a golden calf, and not trusting God, Joshua went down there, and they started taking what was theirs and what God would do to help them. And that chair needs an umbrella of prayer over it. But we got to convince Americans that children are not expendable, and we do need more of them. Pro-life is not just anti-abortion abortifacients. It's the whole idea. I don't know if you know, but last year was the first time in American history there were more whites buried than born. And we're following Europe. We're following a lot of deals. A lot of countries. Europe is going to be Muslim in 50 years. And we're going to go that way. One other thing, I just heard this week that more children were paid for their birth with Medicaid than there were people taking care of themselves. And when the government collapses a family, I don't think they meant to, but I see in my state, with such a heavy black population, uneducated, sure, they were discriminated years ago, but they were together, they had families. And I do want to tell you that my favorite verse is from James. It says, true religion before God the Father is to rescue the widow and the orphan and stay undefiled by the world. You've got to go out into the world, and you've got to contend. Ephesians says, have no fellowship with evildoers, but instead expose them. We do things like follow the abortionists to the restaurant and embarrass somebody in the middle of the meal, making an announcement that this person is an abortionist. We pick it to people's homes after we've told them we're going to. We've embarrassed a lot of people, and the Bible certainly says to point out evildoers after you've warned them at first. But one of the things I would say is we need to be gentle, but we need to be confrontational, and we need to do it in charity. Christ was not a dead leaf that blew through Jerusalem in the autumn. He was a real man that was willing to take on our sins and be one of us in every way but sin to bring salvation to us. We can't do it for the babies, but we can identify with them, which is what he did. He became one of us in the way we've sinned. But we are down now to one abortion clinic 2 days a week, where we at one time had 14 doctors doing abortion, 7 abortion clinics, and they're down to 1. And he really is under duress by the government, because we have a law that if you do surgery in your office, you have to have a relationship with a hospital where you can admit patients, and their one doctor won't do it, and the 30 or 40 hospitals won't have anything to do with it. But look, our struggle also is about the contraceptive mentality. We need to have children. Life's comment, 56 people signed the Declaration of Independence. 52 of them were born 7th or beyond in their family. Not just among families of 7 or more children, but 52 of 56 were born 7th or beyond. I used to struggle, how come they were so wise and so brilliant and so courageous and so sacrificial? They learned not only from their parents, but they learned from their older siblings. Thank you. Good to be with you. Christ was not crucified for being the most likable person in town. He did what he came to do, and he said what he came to say. And we are not gentle, confrontational with charity that we should be. Are they killing people or not?
Yes.
I mean, we are acting primarily like we want government to change a stop sign to a stop light. This is a whole lot more than that. Just like slavery and killing Jews and so forth. By the way, we live in a state that's Southern Baptist. They believe the Bible and they fear God. The beginning of wisdom is to fear God. And their pastors are very pro-life. They have no idea about the contraception problem we're having, but we did do a personhood, and we're doing it again. And the only reason we did not call an unborn human being after fertilization a personhood and outlaw and try to challenge Roe from the state constitution point of view is the debate about contraception and some of the other, and that's where the battle's going. I think probably within a few years we'll outlaw late term and so forth, abortion. But what are we going to do about not having children? When you can go into Walgreens in Jackson as a 14-year-old girl, and beside the Skittles and the cream for your acne, you can get a morning after pill. We've got to start becoming a culture of life, not just a culture of anti-death. We've done more than any other state in legislation. We've done a lot in education. Our state still grieves the fact that we didn't do what we should have done during racism. And it's much better. Our biggest problem is blacks still carrying that over. I mean, we don't have the institutionalized racism. But just for an example, Mississippi was the only and first state to make it where two parents had to agree to an abortion or an intact marriage.
For their minor daughter.
With a minor daughter. All the other states either have notification, which simply means you have to tell one parent. You can't do anything about it. She can come up with the money from a boyfriend or whatever you can do. But we said if you're a minor and your parents are still living together, you intact family, you've got to get both permission. Well, a federal judge held that up for 7 years and said, we're not sure whether that meets constitutional muster. Consent did, notification did. So my first 17 arrests were counseling minors under 16 that were pregnant, crying, not wanting to have abortion, ambivalent about it, and a man who's 20s and 30s and sometimes older, having her there to force her to have an abortion. We know why he's there. He didn't want to meet her father with a shotgun. He's committed a felony. So what I would do for the first 17 times, I just went inside with them. After they got situated, I gave them 5 minutes. I walk in there and kneel down in front of them. And there's a room of 30, 40 people, and nobody knows anybody except maybe 2 together. I kneel in front of them and say, young lady, we need to leave. Your parents need to know what you're in. He's in here because he's guilty of statutory rape. They're going to arrest him. I said, a misdemeanor? You're fixing to lose your child's life. Misdemeanor? Policeman? So I've committed a misdemeanor. I'm trying to expose a felon. A statutory rape. All 17 times I was arrested. All 17 girls left. We either went outside and got with one of my friends and went home. I was scared to jail. But never convicted because the people wouldn't come to court and testify. You don't want your mother and your pastor and your best friend and your neighbors to know you work in an abortion clinic. And all these cases will be on the front page of our paper. And I was known as Radical Roy. I'm radical about trying to stop a man from getting away with statutory rape. That is just not radical in my book, nor any of the things that we've done. And I think we need to lovingly confront people when people are doing something wrong. And I've heard it all. Leave me alone. Ma'am, I care too much about you to leave you alone. How many children have you adopted? My wife and I have adopted more than 400 or 500 children. You've legally adopted that many women? I said, I don't. And the children, I said, I don't have to put somebody on a McMillan plantation or legally adopt them to help them. We have homes that they could live in, and well beyond. You know, we get this idea that we only care about them while they're in the womb. That's not true. But it is true that the church has let the government take over our responsibility to feed, to clothe, the house, to heal. There's not a single church, or a hospital or education institution that wasn't started by the Catholic Church years ago, and we've left it up to government. How do you, as a senator, go to your, how's you as a pro-life, as a bishop, go to your senator on Monday and fuss at him about her abortion policy, knowing the next day you're coming to ask her to do more to feed the poor? Give, and how they gave cell phones to everybody the week before the election. How do you politic against Santa Claus? It's hard to do it, and that's the destruction of the country.
Tell the story about going into the restaurant, the Red Lobster.
Okay, I didn't tell it. Okay,
I don't think so.
We follow the abortionists, and we follow the employers. We let the employees know that we're coming to their house in 2 weeks if they don't quit, and we let the neighbors know. We're not harsh. We're not doing anything illegal. We just tell people what these people do. If you have influence with them, look what they're doing. Don't you care about their soul? Don't you care about what they're doing? Don't you care about our culture? I saw Joseph Booker one time driving down the highway with a lady, and I followed him.
He's an abortionist, right?
Yeah, his abortionist. He went into a
Red
Lobster, and the way they are in our area, they're sectioned off to about 12, 15 tables. I give them 10 minutes to get inside, and I go inside, find him, and find an empty table, get a fork, and hit it on the side with a water glass. And everybody looks up, and I said, good evening. I have an announcement for you. I'd like to know who you're dining with tonight. This is abortions up the street. Joseph Booker, and he kills people for a living. And if you agree that what he's doing is wrong, you need to talk to this man. If you're a Christian and agree with us, you should pray for him. And by the way, I hear a God thunderstorm out there right now. You also ought to pray that God doesn't use this hour to send a lightning bolt right into this dining room. You're liable to be collateral damage. A lot of times say, Mississippi's a poor state. You all need abortion. We don't need abortion in our state. Our number one health problem is obesity. We need government to let us do our job. We've received a lot of publicity, and we're right on the brink. They've been out of compliance for more than a year, and their time is just about up. And the main thing they're in trouble with, they're one abortionist, and they're one clinic owner who has 2 or 3. He can't get admitting privileges at any hospital
And we have a
in
law.
the
We
area.
have a law that-
A lot of states have laws. If you do surgery in your office, you've got to have a relationship with a hospital. So if you injure somebody, you find something you didn't know, made a mistake, something happens, you go to the hospital with it. You are known, you're credentialed, you can tell them what's happening, but none of the hospitals do it. Most of them don't want to be bigoted. Most of them don't want to be a part of it. And he sued all of them, and then some of them...
The other 2 reasons
Yeah,
are
no malpractice insurance.
you have to have malpractice insurance to have hospital privileges. You know, if you have a complication in the hospital wants you to share the risk with them. Number 2, you have to live locally. You have to be, live within X amount of time of driving into the hospital in case one of your patients shows up. You need to be available to take care of them. So continuity of care is just lost. And many, I would say most, patients who are sent from an abortion clinic to a emergency room with a problem. The emergency room never gets a telephone call from the abortion clinic telling them what's happened, so that they have a heads up and can get with it. And that woman who died this year, I think it was, or was it last year, in Chicago at a Planned Parenthood abortion mill, was allowed to sit in that abortion clinic bleeding for 7 hours. When they finally decided to call an ambulance and send her to the hospital, no information. The poor doctors were trying to figure out what in the heck is going on, and by the time they figured out, well, we think we need to go to surgery and see where the bleeding is from, she had bled so much she died. And that was a preventable.
People tell me, you're the poorest state in the nation. What are you going to do? I said, there are different types of poverty. One of them is the poverty of the heart. Our 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and Revelations have been replaced with secularism, relativism, everybody's right, nobody's wrong, materialism. And we've been driving around this area. What a gorgeous, rich area we have out here. They tell me, Democrat, I just cannot understand somebody. When I married Bella, I went to the 60-something% federal income tax bracket. That's unbelievable. Didn't make that kind of money. I tell the people this. What did Christ say? He said, come to me, you who are burdened and heavy laden, and I will give you peace. Come to the church. Come to a local Catholic or Baptist church. We support crisis pregnant centers in homes. This is a picture taken many, many years ago of a little Chinese lady. Here she is in Beijing when she was born at 6 holy mousy tongues sayings. You had to have that with you. If you were 6 or older, you had to always have it with you, no matter your age. She came to the United States, and 9 years ago, this coming Thanksgiving Eve, she walked out of the parking lot. Didn't know much English. Out of the abortion clinic parking lot. I was out there. 2 other people were. We had the pictures of aborted babies as well as born babies and unborn babies. And she says, you've never been in a church in her life. And she's mid-40s and pregnant. And she says to me, please help me do the right thing. While the Christians go in and say, you judge not, like killing somebody. I said, sure, come with me. So I took her to Bethel. I took her to Crisis Pregnancy. The next day, she was at a Catholic Thanksgiving luncheon, started going to church with us. When she couldn't work as a waitress in a Chinese restaurant, she came and lived with us. She lived with us when Charlie was born. She lived with us when she died, August the 7th last year. This is little Charlie. He's baptized. This is his first communion picture. He's 8½. He's living with and adopted by 2 Catholic attorneys. One is a judge and one has the state defense for the indigent, primarily trying to stop capital punishment cases. He misses his mother, but he says, I now have 2 parents, 2 sisters, 2 dogs. And he's happy, and he's like one of our children. And he's one of hundreds that have been named for me. And among the thousands that I have persuaded, I get stopped weekly in a grocery store in a movie line, and somebody says, you're the guy that wears the hat. Joe Scheidler, I wear the hat because of him. He calls me the playful otter. I go to Chicago, I tell him, when the South rises again, when we come up here, there's not going to be any people left to fight. We just changed Grant Park to Lee Park. You've got abortion clinics everywhere. We've got one, and it's fixing to close. But anyway, this is a picture of Rachel and Charlie.
When she died.
She died of pancreatic cancer.
She died of pancreatic cancer. Here's a card I use And I have some pie house back there with some of the thousands of pictures that babies we saved. We miss many, and we grieve every one of them, but we're out there saying, ma'am, if you're pregnant, we can help you love your baby. If you're pregnant, you deserve better than this. Abortion shouldn't be just illegal. It should be unthinkable. And having children again should be something we need to have. But this card says, 100 years from now, will not matter what kind of car you drove, what kind of house you lived in, how much money was in your banking account, or what your clothes looked like. But the world may be a little better because of you and the life of a child is what's important.